Welcome to Orange County Power Players, where we spotlight the personal, professional, and financial success stories of OC's top leaders. Here's your host, Danny Flores.
Welcome back to OC Power Players, where I interview some of the most successful people in Orange County. I'm Danny Flores, your host, and today's honored guest is Nancy Solari, zooming in from Huntington Beach. Nancy is a radio TV host, founder and CEO of Living Full Out, inspirational and corporate keynote speaker, accomplished coach, contributor to Entrepreneur, Better Humans, Good Men Project, and Human Parts. Nancy Solari is the creator and host of nonprofit MVP, a competition-style TV show with a heart for nonprofits filmed in cities across America. She is the founder and CEO of Living Full Out, a company created in 2010 to guide people in reaching their maximum potential. At a routine eye exam, Nancy was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa when she was 16 years old. That same day, she received the news that she would be blind by 40. Although RP is a degenerative condition, Nancy has remained resilient in creating a vision for her future, working in broadcasting industry, serving as a keynote speaker for multiple corporations, building multiple businesses, and living her life with purpose. After becoming a certified life coach and business coach, Nancy became the creator and host of the National Living Full Out radio show, a format featuring on-air calls and inspirational interviews, providing listeners with tools to overcome the obstacles in their lives. In 2015, Nancy became the first legally blind host of a television show. Most recently, she was named host of the TV show she created, Nonprofit MVP, which launched in Boise, Idaho, with other American cities to follow. Nancy's guide dog, Frost, will display his extensive training as her co-host. The concept for the show came to her as a way to teach, train, and support nonprofit leaders in the context of highly competitive environment with cash prizes and valuable services up for grabs. The support she received from nonprofit organizations as she learned to work in the business field and vision loss inspired her to give back in a way that puts her gifts and talents to use. The show's mantra is motivating vision through purpose. And that statement sums up Nancy's secret to living full out, regardless of limitations or setbacks. As the first legally blind live television host, Nancy Solari offers unique insight into how you can live the life you want despite of any obstacle. Wow. Welcome, Nancy.
So nice to be here. Thank you. And I know long bios, right? But that's decades of work in there.
Yes. Usually I don't read that much of a bio, but everything in your bio needed to be read.
Thank you.
And that's why I read it all. Just massive. You've done massive advancements and you've done so well. Tell us how, because I think it's a mindset, right? People, many of us who don't have any impairments have other impairments that keep us from being successful.
Mm-hmm.
You're missing one of the most important ones, which is your vision, and that hasn't stopped you at all. As a matter of fact, perhaps that may have fueled you to do what you do now. So tell us how that kind of came out, because going back to 16 years old and the doctors telling you that you'll be blind by the time you're 40, it's like that's like a huge shocker. Like, what went through your mind then, and then how did your mindset shift to say, okay, what am I going to do?
Great question. And I would say there's a couple of pivotal moments in there. So you're right. I mean, to be told at 16, right when you're getting your license and you've got the whole world ahead of you that you're going to go blind at 40, you go into denial and you assume there's going to be a cure. I mean, come on. there's going to be a cure, surely,
Right.
right? Well, a cure never came. They'd always said 5 years, 5 years, 5 years. It's like just the thing they kept saying. But along the way, I got my degree in broadcasting and psychology. And if I really go back to being a 10-year-old Nancy, sitting on the couch like so many did, watching Oprah, I thought to myself, gosh, I want to do that. Like, I love that people are sharing their hearts. I love that it's communicative. I love that talk show feel. I didn't know what that might look like, but psychology and broadcasting sounded like two things I needed to get myself there. And as I went along, I did many, many internships. I am a fan of internships. So get your kiddos doing them, or do them yourself if you're making a career
Right.
change, because I did 8 of them. I anchored, I reported, I DJ'd, I did morning shows. And the reason why that's important is because I think before you are given that ideal, pinnacle career, you have to
Right.
know all the parts of it. I mean, I even went to Los Angeles and sat in the audience of Price is Right and Lisa Gibbons and Arsenio Hall. And I just wanted to know every layer of how this came together. And another pivotal point would be that along the way, I realized that the world already had an Oprah. They didn't need another one. They already had them. So along the way, as you're becoming what you want to be, I had to figure out who was Nancy, what made me special, unique, and different. And believe it or not, my vision loss, I kind of look at it like a superpower because I don't rely on reading note cards. So, like when I'm with my guests, just like you are with me, I have to memorize their stories. In fact, many of them say, I know their stories, their life better than they do. They're like, oh, how'd you pull that together? Or I never thought of those parallels in my story before. And so sometimes what may seem like a loss, a flaw, whatever you want to call it, a woe's me moment, right? Can
Yeah.
actually be your greatest strength. And as I journeyed along in radio and TV, I realized who Nancy was. I realized that I could be that person who shares people's most heartfelt stories. And that truly is my signature. And I think everyone in podcasting, TV, and radio's got their lane, whether it's news or anything, right? Pulp
Yeah.
culture. But
Right.
for
Yeah.
me, my gift is that telling of stories. So I actually thank my blindness for getting me to this place.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. And now in getting there, Nancy,
Mhm.
um, was this a journey traveled alone, or what support, emotional support, physical support? Um, because you discovered who Nancy was, one, but you also needed to know how Nancy's going to get there, two.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, my mom, let's hear it for grandparents, parents, siblings, whoever that person is. She was always one of my cheerleaders, although she could only get me so far, but she was great.
Hmm.
I think along the way, it's really important to make sure that you identify why doors open. And doors are not always meant to be like the winning moment. Sometimes it's I'm never doing that again, And
Yeah.
I paid really close attention to who I felt had my best interest. And from producers to relatives to my team, I just surrounded myself with people that could help almost adopt my vision to be their vision. And I just want to explain that just an ounce more. So, because when I started Living Full Out Incorporated in 2008, of course, I can't see social media. I can't see, graphics or, things that I would need to see. So over time, I created or I hired on writers or an executive assistant, or I brought on my own interns because I had been one myself. I knew the value in it.
Hmm.
And you kind of build your team. For me, they became my eyes, my arms, my ears. And together we all took pride in this vision that we've built today. I've also looked at producers or directors or people like that. And I didn't mean that I needed them to be in my world forever. I just needed to know from this time we have together, how can living full out grow? What stamp, you know, I was here, do they want to make on it? I think a lot
Right.
of times people get really scared of change. I
Hmm.
embrace change. I know that people are going to ebb and flow. They've got their own life, they've got their own heart's desires. So, my philosophy is for as long as someone is in my world, let's make the most of that, knowing that at some point they're going to go out. You just have to know that ebb and flow is going to happen. So, you always prepare for the unexpected, you always prepare for change. That is truly the secret sauce.
That's actually very powerful
Mhm.
to say that like nobody's constant in our lives, right? They come in, they make a contribution, and then they move on. And that's not a bad thing. It's just how it works, right?
Yep.
So we learn from them, they learn from us. They could potentially push us up to the next level. They could potentially open doors for us,
100%. And
right?
it's when you hold on too tight that you strangle that potential opportunity. Sometimes, there's this an old saying, I'm sure you've heard it before. People are in our lives for either a reason, a season, or forever. They might be in our life for only a reason. Maybe they're
Hmm.
my doctor at one point in my life. It's a reason. Maybe
Right?
in your life for a season. Your kids are a certain age, and then once they switch schools, you've got a new set of moms and dad friends, right?
Yeah.
Then there's the people in your life forever. Through the ins and outs, we're in it together. And if
Hmm.
you hold on to that, then you're not so crushed when these ebb and flows happen.
Right. And you have to embrace that because it's not a bad thing, right? Maybe when that person came into your life, you contributed to their growth and
Yep.
they grew to a certain level where it's like, okay, I got everything I needed out of this
Yep.
and they have to move on.
And
And
that's the funny thing, I'll just say,
right,
I actually don't function from I too often. My first thought when I leap out of bed is who needs what from me? As soon as everybody gets what they need from me, then you can let go. You can turn off the cell phone. You can go into your creative place. You can, you just know that nobody's waiting on you. So that is always my first thought of the day.
right, right.
Yep.
Lead with a give,
Yep.
right? It should always be that way. Instead of saying, what are you going to do for me? It's like, what can I do for you?
Exactly. Yep.
Right? It changes the whole story, the narrative of the story to be able to, and then people open up to that, right? Because if you're a giver and you take care of other people, and sometimes you can and sometimes you can't, but nevertheless, that's what you're striving to do. It comes back multiple times.
100%. Hmm.
And so now this is like so inspirational because you talked about building a team to be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And your
Hmm.
team is going to be your vision getting you there under
Hmm.
your guidance. So I think at least for me, but I think for so many people too, and our listeners is like if you're thinking about doing something and you're scared, you're a great person to look at and say, okay, don't let fear get in the way because you have everything else that can make it possible. Just go out there and do it. Follow your dream, build it. It's trial and error. I'm sure that it hasn't been perfect all the time. You've learned a lot. People have taught you a lot. We've made mistakes, like you said, why doors open, and sometimes the wrong door opens, or we open it, right? Not necessarily that somebody opened it for us, but we opened it, and we're like,
Yep.
oh shoot, I went the wrong way. Now I got to go backwards and open a different door, go a different way.
Yep.
And so life is like that. And there's the opportunities are out there. We just have to embrace them and take them, take the chance.
Well, and I think it's important to, when you consider a team doesn't mean that you have to hire people. Remember, a team can be a neighbor who becomes your accountability partner to make sure that you get your 10,000 steps in a day. That's still a team
Mm-hmm.
member. A team
Right.
member can be a parent. A team member can be a kiddo helping you out,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
I
Right.
don't turn to child labor, but I'm just saying, hey, every kid needs to learn discipline and earning a dollar, right? You can
Yeah.
teach them a lot.
Yeah.
They're part of your team. So team members are all around us. You just have to kind of get everybody in play. Mhm.
Right, right. No, that is amazing. So tell us a little bit about how you came about with the TV show and how that works and how you find people and how you
Yeah.
make it exciting.
Well, I actually, even since in the time that it's taken us to get to doing this show, I have now two TV shows. So one of them, of course, is Nonprofit MVP, which you mentioned in the bio. And
Mm-hmm.
again, the MVP normally stands for Most Valuable Player. For us, it's Motivating Vision Through Purpose. And
Mm-hmm.
because I have been a recipient of nonprofits my whole life, they taught me auditorial devices, they taught me white cane training, they gave me my guide dog. So shout out
Mm-hmm.
to Guide Dogs for the Blind. And, I wanted to create a show that could have boot camps and challenges so nonprofits could make money as they do these challenges, but also be able to grow taller, listen deeper, and it's
Mm-hmm.
been just great. I mean, season one in Boise, Idaho, just such a beautiful experience. And we crowned our first winner. And season two is now in Las Vegas, and we're
Oh.
filming that as we speak. And then I have another show also through the Las Vegas Television Network. Both shows are, and that is the Living Full Out show, but this time it's TV. It's because the podcast that I've had since 2010, it's always been radio, podcast, audio only. And that's been a great place for people who just have a hard time. And I mean, stories of abuse, addiction, those are hard to tell on camera.
Mm-hmm.
Human trafficking,
Um,
you name it, right? So there's a little bit of safety, a little bit more, kindness for people in that
mm-hmm.
safer place. But the TV show, I mean, there's just sometimes some stories that can't just be told, they have to be shown. Like we've had sword swallowers put swords down their throat. We've had people with no arms show us how they fly planes. I mean, it's really been amazing to see the visual of inspiration as well as the radio show. Mhm.
No, that's amazing to be able to do that.
Yeah,
Now let's talk about a little bit about the podcast.
sure.
You mentioned that it's more of for listening than visual.
Yes,
But you also mentioned some delicate subjects, right?
yes.
Um, it seems like it almost sounds like a platform where you can actually go there and tell your story in a safe environment.
Mhm.
And the neat thing about being able to do that is listeners can there's listeners that can actually relate to that and maybe they're going through that at the time from what your guests are saying, and perhaps it helps them get through what they're going through, or perhaps it helps them look for resources that can help them make changes so that they can get out of their situation. What has been the result, and is there any way that you guys track that and how that comes about and helps people?
Well, it's interesting. We are constantly asking our audience, what's top of mind? Where are you hurting the most? Where do you feel like could have the most inspiration? And one thing I've noticed with all of our guests, and truly they can have the most heartbreaking stories. And then somewhere in their interview, they start laughing. Might not be a big boisterous laugh, but a giggle.
Hmm.
And the truth is, in the dark of pain, in the dark of loss, lies, the fact that this doesn't just happen to one person, it happens to all of us. And
Hmm.
it also lies kind of the laughter of it. And then you start to see the light. you start to see the learning. You start to see the, I'm so glad that happened because. And, again, I think of my own dark, my heartbreak would be blindness, right? That diagnosis. But the light, well, the giggles are how many times I've hit my coffee table because I don't see it, or I've run into the TV, or, I've
Mm-hmm.
tripped on something. That's that laughter. But then the light is how it's made me a better listener. And it's allowed me to
Mm-hmm.
see the really good human side of people. I mean, I don't know if I was 2020 Nancy, if I would have that same bond with people. People just like to help me. And there's that moment together. And so as my guests are sharing their stories, they too have that switch. It's the switch of victim to survivor. It's that switch of woe's me to thank you. And that is what I hope when everybody listens to the interviews, they're leaning in and listening for that switch. How did that person make that switch happen? Was it their faith? Was it hitting rock bottom? Was it, somebody who was an advocate in their life? And then I swear, I come away from those shows just every day saying, I'm in awe of them. They may be in awe of me, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, so impressed by you. I'm so proud of you. It's just really special.
Yes, now I think you would agree that all of us have situations, right?
Mhm.
Whether they're, there can be some bad ones, right? The bad ones, the good ones we need to learn how to embrace and live for the moment and be thankful for those. But the bad ones are the ones that bring out a different side of us, right?
Yep,
Bring out, like you said, your blindness made you a better listener, right?
yep.
We that can see may take listening for granted, like, and we don't listen. We're not good listeners.
Hmm.
And then but other things happen to us that make us grow one way or the other. And you can't, some situations you can't change, and what's happened. It's in the past too. So the past can't be changed. And we have to potentially look at it as learning to drive how we drive a car. We drive looking forward through the windshield, not looking backwards. And
Hmm.
and and that's a skill too, right? To learn how to, yes, something happened to us, and yes, it hurt or it's painful or whether it's heartbreak or whatever else it may be.
Yep.
But that happened already. And it's like we actually get on a daily basis is to rewrite our next chapter.
Hmm.
And one bad chapter doesn't make a bad book. And we all have bad chapters, right?
Yep.
It's just part of life. And so it's learning to deal with it and looking and embracing what we have coming to us, not what happened to us.
100%. Again, yep, you got it. That's it's, if we could only read that last page first in our book, but we can't. You
No,
gotta read chapter. Hmm.
it hasn't been written, that last page.
Yep.
And, and
Yep.
and the beauty of it is, if you look at it correctly, is we actually get to write that. What are we
Yep.
going to write is the big question.
Yep. Or
It,
maybe the last page of the book stays blank. Maybe there's never really an ending, also.
true to that,
Hmm.
but the chapters that lead up to that will be written by us, whether
That's true.
whether we make the effort to write it a certain way, or whether we just let other people contribute and write it for us.
Yep.
And the question is that what we want or not? Right? We're in control. We have to think about it. We have to, how many people map out their career because they want to be successful, they want to get promoted, they want to make more money, take more vacations, whatever the case or the goals are.
Yeah.
Life should be looked at that way too, with checks and balances, check-ins, however periodically you make it, so that you can write your chapter. You do have an eraser to erase and rewrite as you're moving through life.
Yep.
And so that's a different way of looking at it. And I think we all should take a step back sometimes and look at the things. What are we grateful for? What do we want to do? What kind of changes we want to make in this world? How do we want to give back to society? How do we want to help people? We all have something we can offer and make a change somewhere.
Yep.
So as we get ready to wrap up our interview, what exciting plans do you have for the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, there's so much with both the TV shows, radio show, writing, the company, all the things that we do. But I'll share with you that a lot of times as I reassess my life, I reassess it, how can I be better as a communicator, as a researcher, as a writer, as a mentor, as a boss? And I always strive to do that. And I'm a big fan of planning. I'm a big fan of lists. I record things, I revisit them, and that's how I see growth. But I
Hmm.
also firmly believe that you can't give what you don't have, meaning that sometimes you have to reassess, when you work out. If it's always been the mornings, maybe your body changes, maybe midday, evening is better. So I think a lot of times we have to think about switching up our life. A long time ago, I wanted to get the excuse of, I wanted to see a lot of my friends and talk to family members. And there's sometimes just not enough time to get coffee or get lunch or, take that, weekend trip, right?
Hmm.
So I always have made Sunday as fun day. It is the day that anyone and everyone calls me. They know that I might be doing shows on the weekend or I might be busy during the week, but
Hmm.
Sunday is the day I always take the call. And I might talk to 7 or 8 different people literally in a day. And that's the day. And I've chosen to make those connections a priority. And then I switch up, okay, maybe the way my sleeping habits are and just the demands of my day, I'm gonna switch up my workout routine. So I just look at in the next 12 months, what is gonna make me the best me so that I can give to the shows, give to my team, give to my friends and family. And when you are in that place, that mindset of being better, listening deeper, feeling like you're taller, maybe a little
Hmm.
skinnier, right?
Right, right. Yeah, yeah.
Then you're in that action. You're in action. And when you're in action, it's like the name of our company. You're
Hmm.
living full out. But when you're stuck, when you're scared, when you're not reaching out, when you're not embracing change, when you're not being willing to, switch up your schedule, you become stagnant. That's where sabotage happens. That's where I failed, I let myself down, all that self-doubt happens.
Right.
You go into action, you're gonna be a winner.
Amazing. I think you're 100% correct, right? Action creates results,
Yep,
right? Period.
yep,
There's nothing in between. And whether they're the big results and they're small results, they're still results moving you in the right direction.
yep, yep.
Amazing. Well, Nancy, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your story. If somebody's listening and they'd love to get a hold of you, how could they do that?
Absolutely. They can go to livingfullout.com, and right there, there's links that take them to the TV show. There's links that take them to the radio show. There's links that take them to our advice column, Ask Nancy. They can write me for support. And the truth is, we're out there in all the different social medias, like 7 of them, LinkedIn and, Facebook and X and all that, Pinterest and all that great stuff. So
Mhm.
we are here for you. But my biggest thing is every interview I do, I just want somebody today to make a commitment that they're going to do one thing, take action on one thing, and if they do that, that's where you feel those butterflies. That's where you feel the sweaty palms. You always want to feel that zest for life. And sometimes for some of us, I love putting myself in fearful, kind of scary positions because I feel it. I'm like, man, I'm living large, right? Every day is that roller coaster, right?
Right.
Now, other people, they might feel it in meditating. They might feel it in their faith. The goal is to feel something. Leap away from today's interview feeling something.
Okay, deal.
Awesome.
You heard it from Nancy here. You know what we have to do? We have our marching orders. I love it.
Cool.
Love it. Well, Nancy, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks so much for sharing your story. And to our audience, please go to ocpowerplayers.com and follow us on your favorite channel. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Orange County Power Players. Want to share your success story? Apply to be a guest at ocpowerplayers.com/guest.